Everybody is mad at this woman for leaving her husband. So the story goes that she posted a video basically explaining why she got divorced. And turns out one of her main reasons was getting a degree and starting a business. Now obviously that's not a very good reason, so it set everybody off. This video actually got 52 million views on Twitter, and everybody is arguing about marriages. Basically lots of people are saying that these days people don't really respect marriages and are very selfish and all about me, me, me. And then we got the flip side saying, you go queen, right? You started a business, you're leveling up, you know, leave his dusty ass behind.
Last year I turned 40, and these are things that I would not do again in my 20s and 30s. I would not get married. I met my husband when I was 24, and we got married when I was 29. At the time, I thought that this was like the ideal situation. I'm at the perfect age to get married. But what I realized was in the 4 years that we were married, I grew so much as a person. I graduated from business school, started my own business. I just became such a different person that I didn't feel like he was the best fit for me anymore. And I don't think I could have realized that at 29 when I said yes. If I could do it again, I would have allowed myself to have so much more growth in my life before I made a decision on a life partner. And it's really nothing against that partner specifically, but it was more about the direction that I wanted my life to take. My interests by 35 were unrecognizable to my younger self. And I don't think it would have been fair for me to take him on this journey if I didn't think that he was the right partner for the version of me that was to come.
Okay, so it seems like a lot of people have this fear of abandonment, right? That somebody kind of levels up in their life and then they kind of get left behind. And the whole point of the marriage is that you kind of stick together through thick and thin. So that's why people are upset. And before we get into the Twitter arguments, I just wanted to talk about that thing she said about what age to get married.
These are things that I would not do again in my 20s and 30s. I would not get married.
So she basically said that she wouldn't get married in her 20s or 30s. Now, personally, I think that you can get married whenever, as long as you're above 18. I don't really give a shit what you do. But, you know, I've heard of the advice before that don't get married in your 20s, right? Because maybe you're too young, you still need to mature, but don't get married in your 30s? What are you waiting for, your deathbed? I'm so confused with that advice. Like, she herself is 40 years old, which is why she's giving this advice, obviously. But I feel like it's completely unfounded. Like, just because it didn't work out for you doesn't mean it's not going to work out for everybody else. There's plenty of people who have gotten married at age 20 or age 30, and they're doing perfectly fine, and they love their partner, and they don't want to level up or move out or anything like that. And how long do you plan to keep growing? Like, what are you, a Pokemon? You trying to evolve into Charizard here? Holy shit, like, at age 39, you're still growing. Like, I get it, you know, every human being is always constantly growing. Like, you're not going to stop growing at age 45 or something. If you're a good human being and you're trying to constantly improve yourself, you're going to always be growing. So that's not really a reason to postpone marriage or anything like that. Now, undoubtedly, the main reason people are upset is this.
I grew so much as a person. I graduated from business school, started my own business.
Heard that was a pretty common reason for divorce. Seems vague as hell and shallow. What really is growth? Some damn degrees? Shake my head. Basically, if you say that you're growing as a person, and then you just bring up your career growth, like getting a degree and starting a business, that is not growing as a person. Growing as a person has to do with like personal development, you know, maturing. The problem with the video and the reason people are mad is that the way it was phrased, it's basically like, hey, I started my business and now I'm doing better than him. Basically, I'm richer than him now, so I'm gonna leave you for somebody else. Now, did that actually happen? We obviously have no way to confirm these like random internet short stories, but that's obviously what people are gonna start thinking when you say that, hey, I started a business and now I'm leaving my husband. Like, what does that translate to? Now, when anything like this happens, people just blame the generation, right? I don't think she's wrong for that at all. People grow out of each other in relationships all the time. Marriage isn't an exception. This generation sucks. You know, honestly, I completely agree with the woman in the video. She was definitely not ready for marriage, because marriage is not something like, hey, it's not like a fling, you know? I know there's like a 50% divorce rate, so it practically is a fling, but I feel like the definition has been changed now, you know? The way people talk about it now, it's like the vows don't mean anything. It's like, till death do us part, more like, till I get a better job, you know? It's kind of like anytime any minor inconvenience comes up, people are just ready to bolt out the door because apparently there's like infinite options with like dating apps and shit like that. Apparently just getting married for like commitment is like a far-fetched thing now. So I don't think it's a generational issue because that woman's like 40. She's not even part of our generation, man. That's not Gen Z or Gen Alpha. That's like Gen I'm 40 and I'm bitter and I'm pissed now, so I'm telling everybody not to get married. 29 is not a bad age to get married, but I hear her. She evolved in such a way that their union couldn't accommodate. So if I get a promotion tomorrow, then I can leave my wife. What sort of thing you guys feed yourselves with? I don't think people realize what marriage actually is. You're not getting married to that person at that frame of time. You're making like a deal that you're gonna stay with this person no matter if they change. You can't really expect people to stay the same their entire life, okay? They might get fat, their face might get burnt off. If you leave the second that happens, that says more about you than it does about them. Now, obviously, there's situations where you're obviously allowed to leave, you know, abusive relationships, stuff like that. But this is none of that sort. It's like, it just seems like you got a better job and you're like, hey, peace, peace. This is a pretty good quote. My wife has lived with at least 5 different men since we were wed, and each of the 5 has been me. You change, your spouse changes. The thing that keeps it is the promise. I made an appointment with you in the future to be your husband every year. That's very sweet. I feel like marriage is something like, hey, you know, I got a good idea of what kind of principles you stand by and what kind of a person you are, so I'm gonna make this commitment, and I like you so much that even if you change, I'm gonna stick by you and be your #1 fan. If you get fat, I'm gonna encourage you to exercise or stay by you, whatever. It's not like, hey, the second you're not the same, I'm gonna leave, you know? I don't know, man, maybe I'm just naive. Maybe you're supposed to leave for the person that makes 5K extra, you know? Now, people are also pointing out that the husband probably helped her start that business, you know? Could it have just been that the husband had been carrying the responsibility that allowed her to grow as a result, and as a result was not as free to pursue his own? Men's sacrifices are often overlooked, especially in an era that lacks substance as little balance. She couldn't do shit till her late 20s, then suddenly during her marriage she began to flourish. The common denominator was the ring and security, and then she paid him back like a modern woman. Alright, listen, it's never good to generalize everybody into one box, okay? She isn't even a modern woman. She's flipping age 40, okay? And we're definitely getting into conspiracies over here as to what could have possibly led up to this situation. I just think, like, she left so much open to interpretation that people are just gonna take the worst version of what she means. Oh my god, translation from womanese. I went to school, got a degree, started a business, made more money than him. He wasn't progressing as fast as I wanted, so I left. This dude probably paid all the bills while she was growing, and as soon as she was financially free, now she ain't want to take him on the journey. Probably had a house together, purchased with deal incomes, made a profit off it, then left with a leg up once the divorce was over. Let people live and learn. My god, people are really jaded now, man. So in other words, she started making more money than her husband, so she outgrew him. If he was still making more money than her, she probably wouldn't have outgrown him. This generation is funny. Me, what I want. Me. Very insightful commentary there. Me! Honestly, I think if everybody was just a little less selfish, society would be functioning much better, but it is what it is, you know? Now click this video or your wife leaves you. Bye-bye.